Hey Market Disruptors, welcome to this week's question and answer video where you ask the questions and I answer them. And if your question gets picked, you get $10. And if your question is the best question of the week, you get $50. Now, this week we are going to talk about why do crypto assets or assets in general go up? Who can I trust? What are the main barriers to adoption? And will Bitcoin be like Myspace and go away and then like a Facebook competitor will come up? So we're gonna answer those questions and more, so stay tuned. All right, welcome back. So I am going to answer all of those questions for you right now. And just remember, leave your questions on the videos. If I pick your question to be answered on the weekly video, you get $10 in Bitcoin. If it's the most voted question or the best question of the week, you get $50 in Bitcoin. The only rule is you have to be subscribed to the channel. And of course, you have to message me to claim your money. Now, this is the third video in this series, and so far, only a handful of people have actually contacted me to actually claim their $10 in Bitcoin. So I don't know what the rest of you guys are doing. You're missing out on free money. I'm sitting here making videos about increasing your wealth, and leaving money on the table is definitely not one of those. Last week's winner was Mecca Yvid, if I said that right, Mecca Yvid. And he said that he's talking about a Bitcoin ETF and so forth. I'm not gonna answer that because I already did. If you're watching this right now, go ahead and message me to claim your $50 in Bitcoin, all right? Getting right into this. We have a question from Bluefig. And Bluefig says, great content as always. Thank you so much. Can you speak about the most important factors that you've observed that caused crypto assets to increase in value, all right? So we can just get rid of the word crypto. Why do assets go up in value? Principles are few, methods are many. So there's just a few basic principles. There's thousands of ways to apply those, the methods we apply those, but the principles are few. So what are the factors that make any asset or anything go up in value? And if I wanted to sum it up very, very simply, it's something you probably learned as a kid: supply and demand. The less supply there is and the more demand there is, things go up, and the opposite is true. So that's it. Specifically into crypto assets, why would that happen? Again, it's supply and demand. Right now, we're still mostly in the, we're in the early stages of a technology cycle, which at this point started with just hobbyists and tinkerers, guys that were building. Then you kind of get into this kind of like speculative bubble. So right now we're in that area right now. So most of the money going into these crypto assets today are speculators, people that are trying to buy today, hoping it's gonna go up in value. And that's really driving the market. We haven't really moved into a lot of adoption yet. And we're seeing a massive amount of adoption, but we're not seeing adoption reach the point where it's pushing supply demand yet. So right now it's mostly speculative. So how much is out there today? Is there more demand than supply? Now, of course, that's supply being sold. So the price is found every day between buyers and sellers. And so if somebody's selling, someone has to buy. So when there's more buyers than sellers, the price is gonna go up. When there's more sellers than buyers, the price goes down. So that's it in general for every asset, and specifically with crypto assets, it's mostly based off buying and selling from speculators. So hopefully that helps. Next question we have from Juan Pablo Sanin. Juan says, as usual, great info. I don't miss your videos. Thank you. Regarding follow the smart money, so I made a comment about following smart money. He says, how do you know if you can trust the info they are sharing? He goes on to say, I feel that when they share, like this is why we're investing heavily, or this is the future, it's more like, hey, you dumb monkey, buy this thing because it's time for us to get our profits out. It happened to me with, I'm not gonna name it, and he was heavily invested into ICX. And he thinks that they were basically what would be called dumping their bags on him. The smart money, he says, told him, said, hey, we're buying this. He bought it and he felt like they were dumping it because now he's lost a lot of his money. The question is, how do you know who to trust? And how can you trust the info that they're sharing? And I would say, never trust. You can't trust anybody. Never trust anybody. Don't ever buy anything off of somebody else's word. Not even my word. So if I tell you I like an asset, I'm gonna tell you factually why. So I'm not gonna give you my opinion, but I'll back it up with facts. But you should always go back and verify that. So even if it's the smartest money and they said, I'm gonna buy this asset, and here's why, well, don't just take their word for it. Always go back and verify that. You need to go back and verify if all those facts they gave you are true, and you should be looking for somebody else that's trying to give you the other side of the argument. You don't want to just hear what you want to hear. You want to hear both sides. So never trust anybody. To answer your question, Juan Pablo, always go back and verify the information. Always, what we say, DYOR, always do your own research into that and make up your own decision. Look for people like me that are providing you with education. I'm trying to teach you how to think. I'm not trying to tell you what to think. It's a big difference. Asian Miracle says, question, what are the main barriers to mainstream adoption of Bitcoin? And we could say of cryptocurrencies as well. That's a question that I get asked a bunch all the time, so I chose that one. And I'm sure Asian Miracle will hit me up on this because you leave a lot of questions. So first of all, I wouldn't say there's like one, and I don't see it as like one catalyst, like all of a sudden this happens and then all of a sudden like the floodgates open up. It's not like that. I talk a lot about there's 4 phases of a technology cycle. And if you haven't already watched that video, I would recommend to go ahead and click on the link up above, watch that video. There's also a guide that you can download that can walk you through the 4 phases of a technology cycle. So you have to understand how that works. So technology has an adoption cycle. For example, the telephone took about 70 years to get to 80% adoption. And it wasn't like all of a sudden there was like one thing that happened. It just takes time, right? With televisions, it took about 50 years, right? With the internet, it took about 15 years to reach about 80% adoption. So we're going to have to just go through those phases. One of the big areas that are holding it back, I think, as being used as a currency today is that there's a tax situation. So most countries have a tax. So if I bought, say Bitcoin at 3,500 and then, in 6 months I went to go buy a cup of coffee and it was $4 charge, I'd have to calculate the gain from I bought it at 3,500, today it's 4,500. There's a gain there, of the $4 cup of coffee, and then I have to figure out the taxes and pay that at the end of the year with my taxes. So that's definitely going to hold things back. I think it needs to be easier as far as like how to buy it, how to store it, how to convert from cash to Bitcoin, and convert from Bitcoin back. I think there has to be a lot more awareness. So right now, of course, I can go use Bitcoin for lots of things, including buying real estate, buying cars, things like that. But really, that's still pretty limited. I mean, I can't really go around to my grocery store, go buy my clothes and things like that. Like I can't go out to restaurants and use Bitcoin. Of course, I could use a Visa card. There's plenty of Visa cards that hook to my Bitcoin wallet, and I can go spend my Visa card everywhere I go, and it will pull from my Bitcoin account. So that can definitely work. But at that point, why don't I just pull from my fiat dollars? Really, it's just a matter of time. We need to follow the 4 phases of technology cycle adoption. And so time, I guess, would be the main barrier to adoption, is just time. So go back and watch that video if you haven't already, but good question, Asian Miracle. Nitzan Kazir says, will Bitcoin's head start and network effect overcome Bitcoin's disadvantages? Not being distributed, low transactions per second, problematic reputation, etc. In other words, how is Bitcoin different from Myspace, Netscape, or Mosaic in terms of mass adoption? So for those of you that don't know, Myspace was like the first kind of social network before Facebook came and took Myspace out. Netscape was like one of the first web browsers before, like we got like Google Chrome or Internet Explorer came and wiped them out. So what they're kind of saying is that like you kind of have like a first technology, and then usually the second technology comes around and it's better. First of all, in regards to that specifically, Myspace was kind of the first social network, and then Facebook was the second one. So he's saying Bitcoin could be that. But actually, Bitcoin is not the first one. So we had other attempts. We had DigiCash in 1989. We had eGold in 1996. Both of those were previous attempts at making some sort of a digital cash. Obviously, DigiCash says it in the name, eGold as well. So eGold was kind of like Bitcoin is like digital gold, where they actually had a digital currency off of gold. And so we already had 2 previous versions. Bitcoin is the third version that solved a lot of those problems. So maybe Bitcoin is the Facebook. Maybe Bitcoin is the Google. We won't know until the future shows that to us. Other things, they talked about not evenly distributed, low TPS, so transactions per second. I made a whole video about that. I said, is Bitcoin too slow? So check out the link above for that if you want to watch that video. So I don't believe that low TPS is a problem. He also said problematic reputation. I don't believe that's a problem. So what reputation? Because people said that it's used for drug deals, because people said it's used for pornography. So like cash isn't used for that. Cash has never been used for drug deals? I would argue that cash has probably a much more problematic reputation. Everything bad is done with cash, right? So anyway, I don't believe that to be true. So anyway, back to that, answer your question, Nitzan. I think that we could see that Bitcoin was actually the third version and maybe is the best version. And again, only time will tell. Hopefully that helps. Any of these questions answered were your questions. Make sure to contact me to claim your Bitcoin. If you'd like to make some money, leave your questions on any of my videos. If I pick them to be answered on this Q&A video, you're gonna get $10. If it's the best question of the week, you get $50 of Bitcoin, but you have to be subscribed before you answer the question. So subscribe to the channel, submit your question, and that's it. All right? That's it for the week for this video. To your success. I'm out.